All right, welcome to class. And the class today is looking at supporting and understanding our fascial system. So I want to start with a little slideshow, which I think will make this whole process a little bit easier, and then you can come back to it and look at some of the important points here. So get this up real quick. So supporting our fascial system. This is a very intense, magnified look at a very small piece of the fascial system, the web of fascia in our bodies. This is an artist rendering of what it might look like throughout the body, a sort of multi-directional webbing. So what does the fascial system do for us? Well, it supports all of our structures with tension and suspension. It supports fluidity. It has a lot of plasticity, and it encapsulates every system of the body. It has the tensile strength of steel cable. It's transparent like glass, so think of your cornea. It's a delicate membrane surrounding every cell in the body. It has a puffy quality when it contains fat cells, our breasts. It can be thick and tough like the soles of your feet. And it is smooth and mobile when healthy. And if you might imagine, it's hard and immobile when it's not healthy, right? So looking at this concept, this idea of tensegrity, the structural principle using compressed components, which do not touch one another inside a network of continuous tension. When you apply that to the human body, tensegrity is defined as the optimal biophysical system, interconnected, springy, resilient. Tensegrity in the body is a mix of tensional elements such as fascia, ligaments, and tendons, what we call soft tissue. Muscles would be in there as well. Bones are compressive elements, and they act like the struts. We'll go back to that model here in a sec. The integrity of the structure is related to the tension of the cables. The cables are the fascia, ligaments, and tendons. So our bodies act in the same way. We are held together in tension with all systems working together. When one part is injured or affected, it affects every other part. So if you were to pull on any one of these strings in the model, any one of the cables, the whole model would be affected. It would move. This network of connective tissue is our fascial system. Everything is contained in this system. And just like that model, the fascial system provides the cables, the bones, or the struts. In working with any limitations or any movement patterns that are painful, we have to work mostly with the cables, the fascia. Yoga as a practice has the potential to help. And here's how. And this is what we're going to practice today. Mindful movement, mindfulness in general. Adding micro movements to our practice, very subtle movements. Adding percussive movements. Changing things up, avoiding repetition and predictable movements, and adding multi-directional movements. Using subtle movements. The subtle movements that we do engage our brain differently, and they have the greatest potential for range of motion changes. And then practice using long myofascial chain poses like downward facing dog. We talked about pandiculation in a previous class. So all animals do this movement, including humans. You probably do it when you wake up in the morning. So if not, take a few minutes when you wake up to allow an inside out movement, and then take pandiculation breaks throughout the day. Okay, let's begin on our backs. And we'll begin with just some mindfulness practice. So drop into your body. Feel the heaviness of your bones. The place where subject and object meet on the earth. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Feel your breath moving in and out through your nostrils. The flow of breath here. And now bring your awareness to the rib cage. And notice on the inhalation how the ribs expand, and on the exhalation, the ribs relax back. Bring your awareness to your belly, your abdomen. Maybe there's a rise and fall in your abdomen as you breathe. Bring your awareness to your shoulder blades. Can you notice as you inhale, maybe there's a little sliding upward and apart of the shoulder blades? And as you exhale, the shoulder blades come closer together again and slide down. Notice the collarbone, the clavicle. As you breathe deeply, can you feel the breath moving all the way up into this area of your body? And then can you notice the space in your forearms? So there's two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, and there's a space in between those two bones. Can you notice that space perhaps expanding on the inhale? And if you don't really feel it, just imagine that you feel it. The brain doesn't know the difference. And then bring your awareness to your lower leg and the space between tibia and fibula, the two lower leg bones. Feel your breath in that space. Bring your awareness to your feet. And your hands. Can you sense or feel your hands and feet from the inside out? Great. Keep this mindfulness throughout the practice. If you need to come back to the breath to come back to a more mindful practice, take the time to do that. So either rolling to one side or rocking up to a seat, just come up to a seat for just a quick minute here. And if you have a long sleeve shirt on, you'll need to roll it up. I want you to just take your hand, your fingers of one hand to just below the elbow on the opposite arm. And then just slide the skin down towards your wrist and back up. Maybe close your eyes here. And what I'm hoping you feel is that there's more movement than just the outer layer, the epidermis of the skin. Okay, that's part of the fascial system. Great. All right, on to your back, on your mat. Do have a block today handy somewhere, but beginning on your back, we'll just do some pandiculation. So allow yourself a big yawn that evokes a big movement. And then do that a couple more times. And then try seeing if you can have that movement sort of originate from the inside out without the yawn. Just a really organic from the inside movement. Great. Then from here, let's take the soles of the feet to the floor. And we'll do some of the unwinding movement. So this is a bit non-linear, and it allows us to work along a sheath. So lateral sheath here as we move the knees back and forth, and the back line, the dorsal sheath. So just move your knees back and forth. You might notice that this kind of seems like a little bit like the pandiculation that you just did. That's the idea, of course. And then arms are in the goalpost position. The next time that your knees fall over to the left, stretch the right arm up and long, resting on the floor with the pinky up towards the ceiling. So now really into the long myofascial chain here, kinetic chain through the right side body. Then inhale, knees come back up, arms back into goalpost, and knees to the right, left arm extends up. And then go back and forth with this pattern and slow it down as much as you can so that it's not habitual. Maybe bring a little more mindfulness to the movement. Imagine that it's the first time you're doing this movement, say. All of which is going to help us influence the fascial system. Back to center now. And now we're gonna slightly self manipulate the fascial system. So bring your legs, actually lead the soles of your feet to the floor. Just bring your right knee into your chest, hands behind your knee. Just pull your knee into your chest. Not a whole lot of effort, just see where you naturally can kind of land here. Compressing now, ascending colon. This is sometimes called the wind reliever pose. If you want to get your foot involved here, where that's fine as well. But we're mainly going to look at how we can break up a little, maybe some adhesion in the fascia around our hips and tummy area. So then take the right foot down to the floor and do the same thing with the left. Bring your left knee in. Your sides are probably different. Notice that. One more full breath here. And then stretch your legs long and take up one hand and just rest it right below the rib cage. Imagine that your sternum is 6 o'clock on an analog clock and your pubic bone is 12. And just start to make a circular pattern right below your rib cage, around below the pubic bone, going clockwise here, around. You could take the other hand on top. Just enough pressure to feel that you're maybe affecting underneath the epidermis. You're moving some of the fascial system around underneath the epidermis. Not too hard though. You can make the circle a little smaller at any point. We're going to do this for a good full minute or so. So I don't think I added this into the slide, but this would be another way that we can affect the myofascial system, but just a little self massage or self manipulation. Right? Okay. Now, once we've done this for about a minute, say, we're going to bring the soles of the feet back to the floor and bring your right knee back into your chest. Maybe have a little more space, more freedom. Okay, right foot to the floor, left knee into the chest. Notice if you have any more space. Okay. And you can take both feet back to, the soles of both feet back to the floor. Let your knees just drop together here. And now we'll just take the head right and left, inhaling to center and exhaling to one side. Again, in each sort of part, if you break this up, now we're doing this, we've probably done this hundreds of times. Can you slow it down? Simple movements and slow, subtle movements really are good for the brain, and the brain is also encapsulated in the fascial system. We can affect the plasticity of our brain and have new learning if we're willing to get out of performance every once in a while and get into learning new things. Good. So now just roll to one side, press yourself up. You'll take your fingers along the back of your neck, sort of pressing in right below the base of your skull. And then we'll inhale, lift the chin, and exhale, drop chin down towards chest. And again, I'm hoping that you feel some movement underneath your skin. Go about 1 minute. It's hard to gauge 1 minute, isn't it? Great, then we'll come back down to the floor. Exhale your head to one side. I can almost get my ear all the way down to the floor now. And inhale the center and exhale to the other side. So if you notice a difference. One more time each side. Come back up to the center. Now take opposite elbow with opposite hand and just bring your this back and forth motion, elbows side to side. And we're going to take the left thumb sort of into your, right at the top of your pec, and your fingers behind, arm down to your side. And inhale, reach up, and palm faces the back of the room, external rotation of the arm, and then exhale, palm down to the floor, internal rotation. So inhale and exhale. Inhale, arm goes into external rotation. Exhale, come down. Again, your thumb is sort of pressing into the area right at the top of your pecs here. Fingers sort of connected to right behind your shoulder blade, right behind sort of top, or at the top of your shoulder blade, right behind your the bony protrusion of the head of your humerus back, right on the shoulder blade. Yeah. Good. And then let's take the other side. So thumb is at the front, and fingers are just sort of hanging on. Top of the top edge of the shoulder blade. After a few more rounds here, let's go back to that same movement. Elbows, hands on opposite elbows, and then back and forth. And notice if maybe you got a little more space. Very good. Now let's take the legs along again. And now we're going to add a little percussion. So you're just going to let your knees bounce on the floor. Knees bounce on the floor. Heels are connected to the floor. Everything's, legs are long. You're just letting your knees bounce, 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 bounce on the floor. You will start to fatigue fairly quickly, probably. That's okay. Just keep the bouncing going. Need some percussion here to our practice. So in this practice, I think like all these little bits, like, you know, you could add percussion. Maybe you're lying on the floor playing with your dog, or you're watching some TV, you're lying on the floor. Just add this little percussive movement. Good. Relax. Let your feet fall out, and then let your feet move back and forth in a windshield wiper action. Beautiful. Then we'll roll to one side, press up, and we'll come into table. All right. So hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips, and just moving through some cat cows here. Okay. Fairly common thing we do almost in every yoga class, it seems like. So now just make it a bigger movement, more circular movement. So as you inhale and exhale, you bring your side ribs out over the edges of your mat. Take it in the opposite direction. And then you could bring your forearms down to the floor and just move through your hips, right and left. As you circle, you bring your hips way over to the outside, really concentrating on getting the hip over. And then take it in the opposite direction. From here, we'll come back to the table position. And now I want you to just take your right thumb right along the back line. So probably the multifidi here and the spinals, right? So you're pressing your thumb here, your fingers are just sort of on your hip. And then you're just gonna move your hips back and forth. You probably feel quite a bit of sliding underneath your thumb. I hope so. Keep going, thumb on the right side. Now, going for about a minute here. Take your right hand back down to the floor. Close your eyes as you go through some cat-cows. Does this side feel any different? And then we'll take the other side. And if your wrists are impacted, you can come to a forearm. It's the same, it'd be the same thing. Take your left thumb right into your low back there, right to the lateral of the spine. You'll feel some big movement there underneath your thumb as you move your hips back and forth. So come all the way back towards the heels and then come all the way up, sort of stacking shoulders over your hand, pressing into that area. We're just influencing the myofascial system here, this particular spot. Think about your whole body encapsulated not in the fascial system. The whole body. And we're just working one little area. But what we know from the model of tensegrity is that when I affect one area, I affect the whole system. No matter how I'm affected here, right? Whether that's an injury or just a increased range of motion, increased space. Stick with it, almost there. And then come up, left hand to the floor, cat-cows. Does it feel any different? then from here, I'm just gonna fold up my blanket and move it off to the side. From here, if you have the ability to sit in Virasana, hero's pose on a block, that would be the easiest way to do what we're going to do next. So we have the block between your ankles, and you set your sit bones down on the prop. If this doesn't work in your body, you could sit in Sukhasana with, or in this sort of like a figure four with the sole of your foot up to work on. We're going to work on the plantar fascia. So if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, very painful. And this is one of the, in the slide I talked about, this is the leathery, tough part of fascia down here in the feet. So I'm going to take my fists, and I'm just going to work. Actually, before we do that, let's just go to downward dog. Let's actually go up into downward dog. Let's see if we can see the difference. So just press up into downward dog. Reach your heels down towards the floor. Bend to your knees. Maybe take a few knee bends back and forth. And just feel here. And bring your attention. So downward dog is all this back line, right? From the big toe, the back line sheath from the big toe, the plantar fascia, the heels, the Achilles tendons, the calves, the hamstrings, up through the sit bones, low back, all the way up into your traps in the back of your head. Lots going on here. So if you feel tight in your downward dog, maybe if you feel it mostly in your hamstrings, say, but your tightness is connected to your whole back line and effectively your whole body, the fascial system of your whole body. So let's drop back down to our knees now, and then bring your sit bones onto your block. And then let's work the plantar fascia. So just really digging in, I'm using my knuckles to sort of press all on the inner arch, the outer arch. I'm going to come and work all around my big toe mound and into my toes. Stick with it. We'll go about a minute again. This could be, a very disciplined part of our practice. Sometimes we do just want to move, and we feel like we're in a hurry. So some of these practices actually will help us slow down. Try not to get pulled forward. So if you think about changing direction, so I talked about in the beginning of the slide that we want to have not just linear movement, but multi-directional movement. And I think sort of metaphorically as well, like we're always being drawn forward. That's the kind of, it's just the culture we live in. We're being pulled forward. We're looking forward at our phones, at the devices. We're often in a hurry. So even from this sort of energetic perspective, doing some of these other practices are going to help us to stay more present. And it all works together. So hopefully you've been bringing your mindfulness here as we go through this. Great. So now let's come hands back in front, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. And then just notice, maybe there's a little more space. Maybe there's a little more space. Then bring your feet as wide as the edge of your mat, circling hips around. Both directions. Right, then we'll come back down to knees, back to sitting on our block. Let's take the fingertips to the shoulders. So just another example here, I'll turn to face you, of just getting more of fascial line, kinetic line involved in our movement. So we'll backstroke the elbows and let your whole body come into a twist. Excuse me. I probably have one more. Health, wealth. Oh, where's love? So just take this slowly and let your body come into a twist as you backstroke. Maybe my legs want to get involved. And then shake your hands. Shake, 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 shake. This is a little percussion. Shake. Shake the hands like you're playing a piano really fast. Hyper speed, in and out. Palms up and down. Like that, let that shake come into your forearms, into your upper arms, into your shoulders. Whole body. Personalize it a little bit. Good. And then we're going to come to standing. And just come into Tadasana. And just start to bounce. Bounce your heels. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Let your whole body shake. Let your whole body shake. And we're going to do a couple of just big dynamic movements. So we're going to come into a big wide stance. Back, shake, bounce, shake, bounce. Open up, back. Let your whole body get involved. Open up, stay there. Inhale, let your right arm come up as your left hand slides down your left thigh. Exhale, that's the exhale. Inhale, come back up, and exhale, right hand down your right thigh, left arm up and over. And just go back and forth a few times. Here we're involving one long kinetic chain, the lateral sheath of the body. Now, the next time you come over to the left, sort of bend and allow yourself to come around in a circle and up the other side. Reach over to the left hand down the left thigh, reach up and over with the right, and then fold. And come around. Bring the left hand back up. One more time. Reach down the left thigh, up and over with the right hand. Fold. Come back around. Good. Arms out to the side, legs wide, jump together, bounce. Bounce the heels, bounce the hands, bounce the shoulders, Percussion, now open up. Going the other way now. Right hand down the thigh, left arm over, fold, and come back up. And time. One more time in this direction. Good. And shake it out. Shake it out. Bounce it out. Good. All right, let's play with small movements within a smaller range of motion that are going to cause the brain to have to be more discriminatory. So come to Vera 1. And in your Vera 1, if you, especially if you came all the way into the, the sort of really open stance, make the stance way smaller. So right leg is forward. And as you bend through your right leg, reach the arms up. And as you straighten the right leg, take the arms down to your sides. Okay, so inhale, arms come up, right knee bent, exhale, legs straight, arms down to the side. Notice what comes up for you. What is the energetic feeling? What language comes up? Oh, this isn't yoga, it's not hard enough. Just be with this, trust this process, that we're all learning new things. We're affecting our body every time we even have a conversation with someone. So how can it be that when we do something different, it wouldn't affect our body? It does. And then just switch sides. Again, short, very short stance, very small stance. Bend through the front leg as you inhale the arms up. Straighten the front leg as you bring your arms back down to your side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now slow it down. Make it really mind. Feel every bit of the movement. Step to Tadasana. Palms forward. Close your eyes and feel your feet. Feel the bottoms of your feet. Feel the space between your toes. Feel your toenails. Feel the tips of your toes. Take 2 rounds of breath. Okay. So now we're going to add some more dynamic unilateral movement that also will involve a longer kinetic chain. So if you have a block, it's helpful if it's a little heavier block, but if you don't have a block, a book about the size of a block would do. And you're going to put the block in your palm. You're not going to grab the edges, you just rest it in your palm. And you want a nice wide stance, so we're going to get the whole body involved in this. So I'm going to take the block, tuck it underneath my arm, come up over my head, And then here I am out in front again. Tuck the block underneath my arm, up over my head, and back out in front. So I watched a lot of Olympics, and I'm sort of drawn to the more traditional things. But one of the things that caught my eye at one point this summer was the rhythmic gymnastics. Now talk about getting out of the linear. And they have these props that they're working with, the hoops and the ribbons and everything. And, you know, it's just really fascinating. So now can you reverse it? Reverse in the direction of the block. I think I always add a little extra up top, but ooh, very nice. And you can see that we're working the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, the hand. I've got side bending going on. Let's take it to the other hand. All right, so you're holding the block out in front. You tuck it underneath your armpit, come up and around over your head. Forward again, tuck it underneath. Up and around. Tuck it underneath. Bring it up over your head. Woo. Good. Can you reverse it? Is this side easier than the other side or harder? Brain is engaged. The brain loves this. It's novelty. The brain is encased in fascia as well. All right, so let's take the block, set it down, and bounce. Bounce, 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 bounce. Shake, 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 shake. Might not have any dance music going, but maybe you can pretend you do. Shake, shake, shake in every direction. Good. And then we're just going to flow a little bit and see how that feels. See how it feels to flow a little bit. So start at the top of your mat and inhale the arms up. And I'm going to add a little percussion as I flow, a little bouncing. So exhale, bend through the knees, hands to the floor, step back to your downward facing dog. Inhale, come to knees, cow. Exhale, drop hips back, child's pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up, come up to standing on your knees. Exhale, all the way back, right hand to right hamstring. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, left hand to left hamstring. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, come up to the cow. Exhale, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, drop knees, come to cow. Exhale, sit back, child's pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up, come up, reach up. Exhale, open up, like you're gonna go back to Ustrasana, the camel pose, but just open the arms wide, keep your chin tucked in here. And then exhale, round and come down to child's pose. Inhale, come up to cow. Exhale, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg out. And exhale, round through your back. Bring the foot forward between your hands. And now take some circles here with your hips. Both directions. Inhale, press up. Crescent lunge. Exhale, turn your back foot, open up. Warrior one. Inhale, straighten both legs, bring hands above your head. Feet are parallel to one another. Exhale, turn back, front foot, come into warrior two. Inhale, press up. Exhale, back to warrior two. Stay in your warrior two. Flip the palms up and let the shoulders float up and down. Inhale, turn the front foot and straighten the front leg and come into the star position, and then bring hands above your head and then fold through center, hands to the floor in a fold. Okay, so a little subtle movement now. Can you take your pelvis into an anterior position and then a posterior position? So there's a little pelvic tilt. And then find neutral. Walk your hands over to your left foot. Turn your left foot so that that lines up with the long edge of your mat. Turn your back foot. Come up onto your back toes. Bend through your front knee. Come up crescent lunge on this side. Inhale, reach fingertips towards the ceiling. Exhale, turn your back foot and open up into warrior two. Inhale, straighten the front leg, bring the hands together. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now inhale, turn both feet to face parallel. Exhale, hands through heart center, come back into a forward fold. Walk your hands back to your left foot, turn your left foot, turn your back toes. So now hands frame the front foot, and with a bend in the knees, take your hips around in a circle. Both directions. And then step your feet back, downward facing dog. Wag your tail. Right and left. Inhale, come forward to the cow. Exhale, drop your hips back, child's pose. Turn your palms up so the backs of your hands are resting against the floor. Maybe your thumbs all the way down to the floor. Inhale, turn your palms back down, come back to cow. And then exhale, round into cat. Inhale. And exhale. Then we'll come to a seat. And here in your seat, let's have both feet over to the right. The back of your right foot resting in the sole of your left foot. And you might need to put some padding, a blanket or something underneath your left hip. So I'll show here with left hip on a blanket. Okay, knees over to the right. My right foot resting in my left sole of my left foot. Inhale to get some length through your spine, and then just take an exhale to the left. Now bring your gaze back to the front and over the opposite shoulder and really stretch your eyeballs. The glassy cornea, which is fascia. Cased in fascia. Slowly unwind, and then we'll take this to the other side. So the right hip up on a little, something to get your pelvis level. And then my left foot is resting, the top of my left foot resting in the sole of my right foot. And I'll take lengthen the spine on the inhale, and on the exhale, twist to the right. Notice what's happening in your low back. If you're dumping into your low back, right, can you tilt the pelvis forward anteriorly, pubic bone away from navel? And take your gaze over your left shoulder, stretching your ocular muscles. Unwinding, coming back to center, and now both legs long. Hands behind so that you have that anterior tilt in the pelvis. So we're working on some very particular kinds of movements right now. Nice and tall here. Nothing else to do. Maybe a little hinging at the waist. You might have your hands by your hips if you have a little more space in the hamstrings or the whole back line, as we know. You might just feel it in the hamstrings. So we'll slide now down to the floor. You'll still need one block. So last little bit of information or practice with nonlinear or working in, say, a different fascial line. So we're going to work in the spiral line, just a little core. So we do a lot of core this way, right? In this front and back sagittal plane. So now bring your block to, you're going to stack your knees over your hips, bring your block right on your left thigh, bring your right elbow to that block. Lift your head and shoulders. You could take your opposite hand and hold your head if you want to, and just press the elbow into the block and the knee back into the block. So now we're working in the spiral sheath. Good, release. Take the block to the right thigh, left elbow against the block, right hand behind the head. Let your head rest in your hand and then just press. Press elbow into block. Then knee back into block. And release. Take the block off to the side. Take anything else that you feel like you need. And then either in traditional Shavasana with the legs long, tuck the shoulder blades underneath, palms up. You could also rest the knees together. You take a blanket onto your belly. This really helps some of us to just drop a little easier down and get out of the busy mind set, or mind feeling, or energetic feeling. So blanket on tummy. Certainly if you're cold at all, cover up with a blanket. And now we'll come back to a little mindfulness as we settle in Shavasana. So can you feel your whole back line? If you're lying on the floor, can you feel your whole back line touching the floor? Sense the places where your back body touches the floor. Heels, your calves, your hips, your back, the back of your skull. Feel the length and volume of your legs. Feel the weight of your legs on the ground. Bring your awareness to your feet. Feel the feet from the inside out. The pulsation and sensation and vibration of your feet. Feel your hands and soften your hands from the inside out. Bring your awareness to your face and notice if you're pursing at all around your eyes. Can you relax the muscles around your eyes? Soften your ears and release your jaw. Resting your tongue completely in the lower palate, the bottom of your mouth. Relax your tongue all the way back to the root of your tongue. Now just let yourself drop and receive and integrate your whole practice. I'm going to close us with 3 ohms. You may stay in Shavasana and just allow the vibration to support you. And you could also come up to a seat and join if you would like. If you're joining in the Om, remember to let the Om, let the vibration at the end of the Om really stay with you for a few breaths before we go to the next one. We'll begin with inhale through the nostril, open mouth, exhale. Blessings to all. Enjoy the rest of your day, your week, your weekend.